85 years old. Well, that's what the calendar says, but if I'm being honest with you, I lost about 40 of those years chasing something that was never real. My name is Robert Chin, and I spent 4 decades of my life living for everyone but myself. You know what the funny thing is? I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that's what a good man does. You sacrifice, you put your head down, you make everyone else happy first. Your parents, your wife, your kids, your boss, everyone gets a piece of you until there's nothing left. And then one day you wake up and you're 65 years old and you realize you don't even know who you are anymore. I was 25 when I started down this road, fresh out of college, Columbia University, class of 1965. I had my whole life ahead of me. The world was changing. The Beatles were on the radio. Civil rights were making headlines. Everything felt possible. My father sat me down at the kitchen table and he said, "Son, life isn't about what you want. It's about what you owe." And I believed him. God help me. I believed him with everything I had. He was a good man, my father. Came to this country with nothing. Worked in restaurants, laundromats, anywhere that would hire him. He wanted better for me. And in his mind, better meant safe. Better meant respectable. Better meant a suit and tie and a paycheck that never bounced. So I took the job he wanted me to take. Investment banking. Morgan Stanley. Good money, good prestige. The kind of job that made my parents proud at church, that made the aunties whisper approvingly at family gatherings. I hated every single day of it. Every morning I'd put on that suit and it felt like a costume, like I was playing dress up in someone else's life. I'd sit in those meetings listening to men talk about profit margins and quarterly projections, and I'd feel this emptiness, this hollow ache in my chest that I couldn't explain. But I told myself that's what adults do. You don't do what you love. You do what's responsible. You grow up. You put away childish dreams. I wanted to be a teacher. History. I loved history. I could talk for hours about the Roman Empire, about the Civil War, about the way ideas changed the world, about how one person, one moment, one decision could ripple through time and change everything. I used to spend my lunch breaks at the library. While everyone else was networking at expensive restaurants, I was buried in books about ancient civilizations and forgotten wars. It was the only time I felt like myself. But teachers don't make money. Teachers don't get respect. Teachers don't get corner offices or year-end bonuses. So I buried that dream and I put on a suit every single day. Then I met Sarah, beautiful woman, kind, smart, the kind of woman who could light up a room just by walking into it. We met at a gallery opening in Soho. She was standing in front of a Jackson Pollock, and I made some pretentious comment about chaos and meaning. She laughed. God, I loved that laugh. We dated for 2 years, and I knew, deep down, I knew we wanted different things. She wanted the city, the parties, the social life. She wanted to be seen. She thrived in crowds, in noise, in constant motion. I wanted quiet. I wanted books and long walks and deep conversations. I wanted Sunday mornings with coffee and newspapers. I wanted a small life that felt big on the inside. But I didn't say anything. I thought, this is what compromise looks like. I thought love meant becoming whoever the other person needed you to be. So I married her. 1970, St. Patrick's Cathedral. 300 guests. It was the wedding she always dreamed of. It wasn't mine. And we had kids. 2 beautiful boys, Michael and David. I loved them. I loved them so much it hurt. The day Michael was born, I held him in my arms and I made all these promises. I promised I'd be there. I promised I'd be different from my father, who worked 16-hour days and barely knew my name. But I broke every single promise. I was always at the office, always chasing the next promotion, the next bonus. Because that's what a good father does, right? He provides, he builds security, he makes sure his kids never have to worry about money the way he did. My youngest, David, he used to beg me to come to his soccer games. He was good too, really good. Made varsity as a freshman. Dad, please, just one game. And I'd say, next time, buddy, I promise, this deal is almost closed, this merger is almost done, and then I'll have more time. But next time never came, and eventually he stopped asking. By the time he was a senior, he didn't even tell me when his games were anymore. That's the thing about time. It doesn't wait for you to figure it out. It doesn't pause while you're busy making other plans. Your kids grow up whether you're watching or not, and one day you look up and they're strangers. I was 50 when my father died. Massive stroke. One minute he was reading the newspaper, the next minute he was gone. Almost. He held on for 3 days in the hospital. And you know what his last words to me were? I was sitting by his bed holding his hand. Tubes everywhere. Machines beeping. He opened his eyes, looked right at me, and he said, I wish I'd done what I wanted. That's it. That's what 82 years of living by the rules got him. Regret. I asked him, what did you want to do, Dad? But he couldn't answer. He died an hour later, and I never found out what dream he'd buried, what life he'd sacrificed for duty and obligation and doing what he was supposed to do. But even then, I didn't listen. I didn't change. I kept going, kept grinding, kept living the life I thought I was supposed to live. I made partner at 52. They gave me a corner office on the 47th floor with views of the Hudson River. Everyone congratulated me. My mother cried with pride. Sarah threw a party, and I felt nothing, just nothing. It wasn't until I was 65, until I retired, that I finally stopped. No more meetings, no more deals, no more 60-hour weeks, just silence. And that's when it hit me. That's when I realized I had spent 40 years building a life I didn't even want. I'd climbed the ladder, I'd checked all the boxes, I'd done everything right, and I was miserable. Sarah and I, we divorced 2 years later. We were strangers living in the same house. We'd have dinner together and have nothing to say. We'd go to bed in the same room and might as well have been on different planets. One night she said to me, I don't think I ever really knew you. And she was right. How could she? I didn't know myself. My boys, they were grown. Michael was a lawyer in Boston. David was a software engineer in Seattle. They had their own families, their own lives, and they were polite but distant. We'd talk on the phone every few weeks, surface level stuff, weather, work, the grandkids. But there was this wall between us, this unspoken hurt that neither of us knew how to address. I was the father who was never there. And no amount of money, no college tuition payments, no generous birthday checks could make up for that. And I was alone, with all my money, all my success, all my so-called achievements. I was completely alone, sitting in my expensive apartment with my expensive furniture, and I had no one to share it with, no one who really knew me. That's when the depression hit, real depression, the kind where you can't get out of bed, where nothing has color or taste or meaning. I'd sit by the window and watch people on the street and think they all look like they know where they're going, like they have a purpose. I went to therapy, Dr. Ellen Schwartz. She asked me a simple question in our first session, Robert, what do you want? And I couldn't answer. I was 67 years old, and I didn't know what I wanted. I'd spent so long doing what everyone else wanted that I'd lost track of my own desires entirely. It took me 3 years to figure it out, 3 years of therapy, of journaling, of sitting with uncomfortable feelings, 3 years of peeling back layers of obligation and expectation to find whatever was left underneath. And you know what I found? That 25-year-old kid who loved history, he was still there, buried deep, but still alive. So here's the truth. The one truth I wish someone had told me when I was 25. The truth that would have saved me 40 years of living someone else's life. Your life is your life, not your father's, not your wife's, not society's, not your employer's. Yours. You only get one chance, one ride, and you don't get a practice round. This is it. This is the only life you're going to get. And every day you spend living for someone else is a day you can never get back. And if you spend that one life trying to please everyone else, if you spend it living up to expectations that were never yours to begin with, you will wake up one day and realize you never actually lived at all. You'll have a resume, you'll have a bank account, you'll have accomplishments and awards and things to show for it, but you won't have a life. Not really. I'm not saying be selfish. I'm not saying don't love people. Love them hard, love them deep, show up for them, support their dreams, but you cannot love them at the expense of your own soul. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, because eventually you'll burn out, and then you'll have nothing left to give anyway. You know what I do now. At 85, I volunteer at a high school, teaching history 3 days a week. I walk into that classroom and I finally feel alive. I finally feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do. The kids call me Mr. Chen. They ask me questions, real questions, about wars and revolutions and how the past shapes the present. And for those few hours, I'm not the guy who wasted his life. I'm not the absent father or the divorced husband or the burned out banker. I'm just a teacher, and it feels like coming home. I go to my grandson's soccer games too, every single one. David's son, Tyler, he's 12. Same age David was when he stopped asking me to come. And sometimes I just sit there in the bleachers and cry, because I remember my son asking me to do the same thing. I remember his face, so hopeful, waiting for me to say yes, and I never showed up, not once. I can't get those moments back, but I can be here now. I can cheer for Tyler. I can ruffle his hair after the game and tell him I'm proud of him. I can be the grandfather I never was as a father. It's not enough, but it's something. I read now, I write, I take long walks through Central Park, I have deep conversations with strangers at coffee shops, I do all the things I should have been doing 40 years ago. I joined a book club, me and 6 retired teachers meeting every month to discuss literature. And for the first time in my life, I have real friends, people who know me. Not my resume, not my bank account, me. But here's the hard part. The part that keeps me up at night. I can't get those years back. I can't redo my son's childhoods. I can't go back and choose differently. I can't reclaim the man I could have been if I'd just had the courage to live for myself. My father's last words haunt me. I wish I'd done what I wanted. I understand now. I understand completely. And it's a particular kind of hell to finally understand your parents' pain only after they're gone. So, if you're young, if you're sitting there right now thinking about what path to take, what life to live, what job to accept, what relationship to commit to, please hear me. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you're brave enough or ready enough or certain enough. You'll never feel ready. You'll never feel certain. Do it anyway. Don't sacrifice who you are for who you think you should be. Don't trade your dreams for security. Don't bury your truth for peace. Live your life, the one that makes your heart beat faster, the one that scares you a little, the one that's true. Take the job that excites you, even if it pays less. Marry the person who sees you, not the person who looks good on paper. Have the hard conversations, set the boundaries. Disappoint people if you have to, because 40 years from now, you won't regret the risks you took. You'll regret the ones you didn't. You'll regret the dreams you buried, the words you didn't say, the life you were too afraid to live, The authentic self you kept hidden because you were afraid of what people would think. I'm 85 years old, and I finally figured it out. I finally know who I am. I finally know what I want. I just wish I hadn't wasted so much time getting here. Don't make my mistake. Your life is waiting, and it won't wait forever. Go live it.